A witch placed a curse on a young boy, known as the Duke of Death, causing anything he touches to die. His noble mother banished him to a remote mansion, where he is only attended to by Alice, a childhood friend who enjoys teasing him with her body despite knowing the risk of his touch. When another childhood friend, Philip, requests to visit, Duke eagerly agrees, hoping to have friends again. However, Philip arrives with guards who prevent Duke from getting too close, and he is horrified when Duke accidentally kills a plant. Philip tries to persuade Alice to leave Duke, whom he considers a monster. He also reveals that Duke's mother sent him as a spy and plans to replace Duke as the family heir with his younger brother, completely cutting him off from the family. Philip leaves, promising never to return. Duke is devastated but vows to break his curse someday and confess his love to Alice, whom he intends to marry as a way of thanking her for her kindness. Duke's elderly butler, Rob, returns to work despite his poor eyesight, causing Duke to worry about him bumping into him. Duke becomes engrossed in playing the piano, hoping to make a living as a songwriter one day. He shares a song he wrote for Alice, which almost leads to a kiss, when he falls asleep. Duke's sister Viola unexpectedly visits, and while she has a bubbly personality, she sees that Duke has feelings for Alice and teases him. Viola encourages Duke to break his curse quickly, so he can return home. She accidentally bumps into Rob, revealing that she has a crush on him. A cat enters the mansion, making Duke nervous as he can't predict whether it will touch him or not. Rob discovers a note on the cat's collar asking for forgiveness, and Duke believes it was abandoned. However, he later discovers that the cat has a family. That night, Duke asks Alice to dance without touching, and they manage to waltz together. After the dance, Duke nervously confesses his love to Alice and she reciprocates, admitting that she loves and adores him. Alice invites Duke to a festival in town, where he wears a heavy costume to prevent any accidental harm. At the festival, a masked woman named Daleth recognizes Alice as the daughter of Sharon Lendrow. Duke cheers up a lost child by playing the piano, and his skills cause the crowd to dance. Duke realizes that rumors about his curse are spreading after he sees a novelty mask of his face. Alice shares a story with Duke about a princess, who sends her imprisoned prince a kiss every year. Duke becomes sad that he can't touch Alice even on their date, but she reassures him that being close to each other is enough. Later, Alice invites Duke to her room to help him relax and fall asleep. Duke asks Alice to join him on a boat to watch a meteor shower, but when Alice falls into the water, Duke is unable to catch her. Alice demands a kiss from Duke even if it means she'll die, but when Duke refuses, Alice reveals it was a trick to tip him into the water. They miss the meteor shower, and Duke is upset that he couldn't express his love to Alice as he had planned. However, Alice tells him to try again at the next meteor shower in 10 years, and Duke feels comforted by her words. 4. Duke becomes anxious when Alice stops teasing him, but is relieved to find out that she is just sick. Alice requests that Duke accompany her on a day out in the snow, and she gives him a scarf that she knitted. When they come back inside, Alice notices that she has lost an earring belonging to her mother. Duke goes outside to look for it, but he faints from the cold. Fortunately, a nearby bat transforms into a girl and nurses him back to health. The girl, who introduces herself as Cuff, is a witch who has a low opinion of humans because witch hunters killed her parents. She had never heard of curses before Duke, and she believes that her friend might know more. When Duke suggests that Cuff seems to trust her friend a lot, she jumps out the window and disappears. Alice remembers one time when Duke was able to touch her, protecting her from bullies, and he compared her to a snow fairy. Viola comes to visit and suggests Alice needs to learn how to make a cute face. Viola tries to help Alice cook, but she becomes distracted by Rob and admits her jealousy towards Duke having people to support him through his curse. She reminds Duke to find a cure before their younger brother becomes the heir. Duke and Alice go ice skating where they meet Zane, a magic user and Cuff's friend who was previously a white crow. Alice helps Cuff warm up after finding her in her bat form on the ice, and they decide to participate in ice skating. Duke becomes jealous of Cuff and Zane's physical contact, while Zane is jealous of Duke and Alice's honesty. Cuff suggests taking Duke to the next witch's Sabbath to locate the witch that cursed him. Viola stays in Alice's room and discusses love and her desire for an older sister with Alice. Alice advises Duke to pay more attention to Viola in the future. Duke realizes that the plants in his conservatory have grown out of control. He uses his curse to kill the unnecessary plants, and then braids the flowers into a crown for Alice. While she showers, a cat steals Alice's gown, so she ends up wearing Duke's coat, which leads to teasing. Unfortunately, Alice's gown is ruined, upsetting her as it was one that Duke liked. She puts on her uniform instead, and Duke must decline her invitation to shower together. Cuff and Zane take Duke and Alice to a witch's sabbath, disguised as witches themselves. However, they're surprised to discover that it's just a short administrative meeting that lasts only 5 minutes. The Sabbath leader, Daleth, confronts Alice and Duke, revealing that she only met Alice's mother once and also met Duke when he was a child. Daleth reveals that the witch who cursed Duke is dead, but she was a powerful magic user, and so it's unlikely that Duke's curse can ever be removed. She burns their disguises, and they are forced to flee. Duke is confused about why Zane and Cuff helped them, so Cuff explains that she sees potential in him and promises that they will be friends on their next visit. Despite the bad news about his curse, Duke remains determined to find a cure. Alice purchased a cauldron from a witch to brew a potion that supposedly cures curses, but it didn't work. She then requested Duke to play a song that has the power to cure curses. While Duke was playing, the ghost of the songwriter appeared and tried to distract Duke by making inappropriate advances towards Alice, but she stopped him. Despite the distraction, Duke completed the song, but only the curse on the ghost was lifted as he moved on after hearing his song played perfectly. Later, Viola told Duke about the suspension bridge effect, and he decided to scare Alice, but he got scared himself when he almost cursed a flower that Rob had been growing for half a century. However, Rob was pleased as Duke's grandmother's stolen jewelry was hidden in the pot, and he could now return it. In a surreal turn of events, Alice and Duke fell asleep and found themselves in a magical dreamland after reading a book about breaking curses. They spent the night chasing a white rabbit for a girl in a blue dress and attempted to end the dream with a kiss, but Duke woke up in his own library before they could. 8. Cuff approached Duke and requested him to teach her how to read and write, hoping to impress Zane. Meanwhile, Duke's younger brother Walter was annoyed that their mother still favored Duke as the heir and that Viola preferred Duke over him due to his inferiority complex. Viola visited Duke and encountered Cuff, whom she mistook as an intruder. She felt embarrassed when Rob caught her sitting on top of another woman. During a snowstorm, Alice reminisced about her first visit to the mansion when Duke was still struggling with his curse and would destroy rooms in the mansion in fits of rage. Although Duke initially rejected her, Alice refused to leave him alone since they were childhood friends. Duke set her a challenge to clean his destroyed room within 3 days, or be fired. Alice managed to clean the room in a single night, but Duke ran away. When Alice found Duke almost dying in the cold, she scolded him for trying to kill himself and reminded him that people, including her, would miss him. This made Duke realize that he had started to fall in love with her, and he agreed to return to the mansion with her. 9. At Duke's Christmas party, Viola decides to give Rob a handkerchief as a gift. Walter secretly follows Viola to Duke's mansion by pretending to be her driver. Zane confesses to having feelings for Cuff, but she falls asleep and may not have heard him. Viola accidentally drops Rob's gift, which Walter picks up, while sneaking into the mansion in the hopes of seeing Duke depressed and alone. Walter disguises himself as Santa but is caught by Cuff, who mistakes him for the real Santa and tries to help by dropping him down the chimney. Duke is happy to see Walter and they reconcile after not seeing each other for years. However, Walter confronts Duke about the unfairness of existing only as Duke's potential replacement. Duke settles an argument between Viola and Cuff over Rob's gift, which Cuff mistakenly thought was from Santa. Walter makes a wager with Duke that whoever discovers the cure to Duke's curse will become the heir. After the party, Alice teases Duke by asking for a kiss under the mistletoe, prompting Duke to remember the time he first told Alice he loved her. 10. Alice has a dream about her mother, who used to work as a maid for Duke's family when he was a child. Viola notices that their mother is upset that they missed Christmas dinner. Zane sends Cuff to do some shopping, alone after Viola criticized him for always doting on her. Cuff manages to do the shopping, but she almost hurts a young pickpocket, causing Zane to revert to his old habit of saving her. Duke is having trouble sleeping, so Alice tries to comfort him by getting into bed with him, but her sleeping naked only makes his insomnia worse. Alice asks Duke about his mother, and he tells her that he would leave his family if they tried to separate him from her. Alice worries that Duke may have to choose between her and his family someday. Rob recalls how he was tasked with raising Duke away from the family, becoming like a surrogate father, and how he blamed himself for Duke's isolation and depression until Alice came along and brought happiness into Duke's life. Duke asks Alice to sing while he plays the owl and the pussycat on the piano, but they both end up feeling embarrassed. Alice returns to her room feeling hopeless that, despite Duke's assurances, they will be separated once his curse is lifted. Viola finds a logbook written by Alice's mother Sharon while searching the family mansion for clues. Viola's mother insists that she starts wearing dresses to prepare for marriage, but instead, Viola moves in with Duke and shows him the logbook. Daleth spies on them and tells Zane to pass on a message to Duke that he should stay away from all witches, but Zane does not intend to follow this advice. Alice discovers from the logbook that 2 witches, including Daleth, visited the mansion when Duke was cursed. Zane steals the logbook after Daleth threatens Cuff but returns it to Duke, warning him that it contains a secret about Daleth. Duke tells Zane to burn it for Cuff's safety, but Zane disintegrates it instead and assures Duke that he can restore it with his secret magic. Daleth stops spying after the logbook is gone, but privately reveals that she has Sharon's body in a coffin, although it is unclear whether she is dead or asleep. Finally, Duke receives a letter from his mother summoning him to the main house, which surprises him since he has not been there in years. Duke meets his mother who asks him to go to bed and they will talk in the morning. Viola surprises Duke by claiming that Gerbera was actually in a good mood. Gerbera mistakes Alice for her old friend Sharon, whom she misses deeply, and becomes emotional. Viola takes Duke to the garden where he was cursed by a witch to live a life of misery and love no one. Viola admits to Duke that she and Walter are jealous of him since he lives away from their mother. At dinner, Gerbera explains that they must decide on the family heir as their father is terminally ill. Gerbera gives Duke until spring to break his curse, otherwise Walter will become the heir. Duke gives a passionate speech about his love for Alice, but Gerbera refuses to let him marry a maid. Duke accuses his mother of treating her children as possessions, and leaves the room. Gerbera privately admits that she is proud of Duke's ability to stand up to her. Duke returns home with Alice and tells her what he said to Gerbera, and he still wants to marry her no matter what. Alice waits for Duke to fall asleep before confessing her love for him too.